Everyone has dreamt about being able to fly, to rush through the air like Superman, to make your own path, pick your speed, free as a bird. A roller coaster comes close, but you're still just a passenger on a train. To ride a motorcycle really fast is probably the closest thing you can get to flying without being trapped in a metal box.
It's kind of like you're flying.
Each year, the latest sport bikes get faster and faster and have an insane amount of horsepower. But what are you going to do with all this power? It's really hard to satisfy the need for speed on regular city streets. The speed limit is so slow you can't get a feeling of flying at all. Or the streets are so full of cars, not even Bo the Miller would be able to zigzag through the traffic without breaking all the bones in his body. Not to mention the expense of all the speeding tickets you'd get.
Okay, so I've been bitten by this speed bug and I want to go really fast.
I want to go fast.
No, I want to go fast.
But I said it first.
Well, I don't want to get tickets though.
I don't want to crash with a truck.
Well, Rick Becker is up at Buttonwillow today.
That's right.
Do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's ride. We arrive at Buttonwillow Racetrack at 7 a.m. The rooster has barely crowed. We're here to follow Rick Becker and see what track day is all about. The bikes need to have all lights taped over, any wheel weights taped over, wires through all the bolts, and the coolant replaced with water or weather, something less slippery if you should crash on the track. The first thing that happens is tech inspection.
Okay, a person brings their bike up. We normally have them shut the bike off. I'm going to check the levers, make sure they're secure. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the throttle, make sure it snaps back to the off position in case it comes off the bike. I'm just going to give a good feel of the suspension, feel if there's any looseness or jerkiness in the front end. That's unnatural. I'll stop down here, I'll just check out the linkage here, make sure this is all good. I'll be looking at the fasteners for the race plastic as well. I'll move up to the front. As you can see, he's missing some pinch bolts right here. This is a good example of one of the items we're looking for. He's missing 2 on this side and 1 on the other. Obviously, these are pinch bolts for the axle. Very important, the front wheel could come off. So we look at this. We just check the whole brake assembly here. Again, I'm gonna make sure there's no play in the front wheel. There's no sloppiness in the bearings that can cause head shake. I'm checking, make sure the brake discs are on nice and tight. I come around, we're taking a quick look at the pads. It's got good pads here. Again, I'll move along. I'll check the race plastic on this side and the fasteners. We'll check the rear brake. Just an overall view of the bike. The exhaust is tight. Again, I move to the back. I make sure that there's no play here. There's no excessive sloppiness in the rear end. Just making sure that if he has wheel weights, that they're taped onto the wheel. I'll move up here. I'll make sure that the tail section is good to go. And then I'll ask the person, does he have water wetter? And I'll also kind of scan the tires too. If they're excessively worn, that's up to the individual, but we would let them know. In a nutshell, that's a quick overview of what we're looking for at tech inspection.
There are 3 groups: advanced, intermediate, and beginner. Rick is riding in the intermediate group. He was recently moved from the lower group that said he was getting too fast and he needed more challenge. In the pits, there's a lot of technical exchange going on. One thing, for example, is how much air pressure to put in your tires.
A lot less pressure on the tire for the racetrack. That way you get more contact patch for the ground, which means you have more of the surface of the tire touching the ground, which basically gives you more grip. On the tire it'll say about 35 psi, but for the racetrack you drop, it really depends on the tire. Some tires you drop 15 pounds, some tires you drop 6. The tires I use, for instance, Michelin, you drop the rear all the way down to 19.
Rick and Ademar look over the track map and discuss how to best attack the hardest curves.
Especially after the straightaways. Yeah, and I mean, you've got plenty of runoff room, so that's not a big issue.
In the general meeting, they talk about passing rules and what the different flags mean.
Okay, I'm done. Let's ride.
I started doing track days in my first year of riding. I had been riding for a while with some buddies up near Santa Barbara, the 33, the 192, and the 150, which are some of the little twisty areas up in that direction. Me and some of the guys that I was riding with were like, hey, maybe we should take a class and really find out how to ride a little bit quicker on the track. And we took Keith Code's Superbike School out at Streets of Willow. It was probably another 8 or 9 months until I did my second track day. And I met more people at that track day that I had fun hanging out with and that I really enjoyed being around and that I picked up a lot of knowledge from. And so all of a sudden I was starting to get really enthusiastic about it. And so anytime I'd get the money together to do it, I would pick a couple friends and we'd plan something together and head out to the track and have a lot of fun. And at that time I was riding in the novice group, I guess here it's called the C group. For a good long time. I'd probably spent about 1.5 to 2 years before I'd even considered stepping it up. And some of the guys that were organizing things that I recognized were like, hey, do you want to ride in the intermediate group? You seem like you're riding pretty well. Yeah, hey, why don't I try this? Of course, you get there and all of a sudden everybody's flying by you again and it's very, very new and very different. Couple laps of the day, I'd say set the tone for your day. You don't want to take any risks. You don't want to push limits. Each lap, pick it up a little bit more. Get a little bit more aggressive coming out of the turn. Carry my speed from that turn into the next one, increasing my entry speed, which then increases lean angle, which then increases exit speed. And as all those start to creep up, your first session will probably finish up before I really get into that rhythm. Work my way up, heat up the tires some more. Now I know I've got the gumminess, get into those turns a little bit more aggressively. I'm starting to feel my upper body loosen up as I start to trust things more. Really makes things a little bit more fluid for me as I handle a couple of those turns. It was nice to get back out there and kind of romp around a little bit again because it's been 4 months. I'm getting more consistent feedback from the front because before it used to be really choppy on the front end. Like I'd be on the brakes getting into the turn and I could feel, I don't know whether it was bottoming out because I'm not that advanced in the suspension terminology, but something was just giving me an unsettling sense.
If your rear settles too much or comes too low, that means the front end angle is further up, which causes you to drift out on the turn.
Oh.
See, the lower down the front is, the better turn you have.
Yeah.
You don't want to put too much because then you get head shake. High speed and slow the bike down. It was bouncy. Whenever there's a bump, it felt like the tire would get a little bit of air, especially the rear. And so I need to loosen up what they call the compression dampening. Less dampening will make it softer.
Like right here, where it's peeling more than it should be. Because that's not normal. That section right there,
Yeah.
it didn't used to do that.
Well,
And
those
I know-
are Michelin, right?
Yeah, these are the same set we put
I
on.
get quite a bit of that on my Michelins, but this looks like maybe it's bouncing. First day on the track.
Really scary.
How fast were you going?
I don't know, maybe 60. It was pretty slow, but it was fun. You lose track of where you are, you can't think what's coming up next, so it's kind of scary. Actually, I got behind an instructor and followed his line, so that was kind of nice to have a little personal attention to help me figure out where to go. And then when you get off, they kind of give you instructions on how to stand your bike up. I leaned over too much and scraped my peg on the first corner, so now I know to like get off my bike a little more so it stands up more. No, wait, brake. Oh, wait, I gotta lean. Like, it's a little overthinking. If I don't think so much, it'd probably become more natural and be better, but maybe that'll just come gradually with the day. I was really excited, and then this morning I got really scared, and right now I'm a little calm. I already did it once, now I gotta go back out and kind of improve on what I just did, so.
So what's the plan for the second session now?
Waste more rubber. There was this huge swarm of folks, and I would pull over on the front straight and kind of let some guys go, doing the calming down thing that we talked about. And I'll be darned, they just kept coming. I'd glance over my shoulder and there's a huge line. I'd be like, okay, next lap, I'm still slowing down. Just because I wanted them to get out far enough that I would have 2 or 3 turns where I could do my thing. And once I got in there, it was a lot more comfortable because all of a sudden I'm not focused on not crawling up his tailpipe. I'm worried about my lines and what my throttle hand's doing and how am I in here and where's my head and what's going on. And that's a lot more comfortable because now I can work on what I need to work on.
Let's ride.
Everybody that parks next to you, everybody that's on a bike is another person trying to accomplish something on their own. So it's very easy to ask people questions. It's very easy to start conversations. You'll find that people tend to be very, very supportive of each other. There doesn't tend to be an awful lot of competition between riders unless they've known each other for a long time or they're in the same group and they've been working on the exact same thing. And usually it's a matter of talking trash as opposed to sincere competition. Different track days and different track day groups have different feels to them depending on the culture that track day and the rules that track day implements. Part of the reason that I like riding with the guys that take it to the track is that they support safer riding. Guys tend to turn into egomaniacs when they put their pride on the line. And I don't have anything to prove to anybody else out here. I'm just trying to improve my skills. So track days are the perfect place for individuals to work on things and work on it with other people of the same mindset, people of the same heart. That's where it's kind of nice. You get that support. I think that there's always going to be a risk in crashing whenever you're riding a motorcycle because it has mostly to do with your understanding of your own limits and the limitations of the motorcycle that you ride. Because if you do have an accident, you're likely going to slide out for quite some ways, maybe do a little bit of tumbling, but your best bet is to come to a smooth stop by sliding as opposed to impacting something solid. And that's where most of the broken bones come from, that or tumbling on uneven terrain. The street riding groups, they mandate certain distances that you must pass by. You must have this amount of room to pass somebody cleanly, otherwise you didn't have enough room. Faster groups are allowed inside the turn and outside the turn passing, so it's a little bit more aggressive. They don't mandate rules, but it's still gentlemen's rules. So having that controllable atmosphere, in my mind, makes track days the real way to practice any of the techniques that you've learned through the MSF or any of the track day schools, or even some of the techniques that your buddies have been tossing around while you've been riding. Still in one piece.
Okay, that rocks.
Good session?
Session, that was awesome. Thank you for the advice, Adam Carr.
Oh, did you like that?
Yes.
It worked, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Definitely worked.
So you'll get more familiar with the track. You know where you gotta be now.
And I sped up as a result.
See?
Did you see me yelling at the bastard in front of me? Pardon me while I get a little upset. The guy comes into that turn, headed onto the straight. He's got a pretty good clip. Like he'd really picked it up from the previous one. And we go into that turn, and I'm closing on him, thinking that he's gonna pull through the entire turn. And I get in there, he drops in and looks right at his front tire and closes the throttle. And I'm like, oh, crud, because I'm still coming up on him. And I should have, like a smart person, just dropped inside of him and cut him off, but I didn't want to get that close to him and freak him out and send him off the track, because he was already fighting not going off the track. I was just saying that I was really kind of getting a little bit more comfortable and picking it up. I wasn't too hard on the brakes before the turns. I was just kind of choosing my entry speed nice and early and seeing if I could cook it through some turns. You can tell because there's not too many pills in the center of my front tire. It's usually you pick up pills when you're real hard on the brakes. It smashes them into the rubber real good. We were going around Riverside Turn. It's the back bend, big, wide, fast sweeper. I was accelerating coming out of the previous turn, dipping into that one as a left-hander, and he was doing the same, and he'd already closed up some distance on me, so he was pretty close. He misshifted, and to not lock up the rear tire, he grabbed the clutch really fast so that he could just coast and not spin it up. When he did that, he picked up some speed, and coincidentally I misshifted about the same time, which slowed me down for a split second, but then I was back on the gas. By the time I was back on the gas, he'd flown by me, and that's when we connected and did the thing. And that was when I went hopping over and around and had some fun in the dirt.
Nice day at the track.
Let's ride! Wasn't that supposed to be the last comment?
We're here at Vasquez Rock Park, just north of Los Angeles. Vasquez Park got its name from the notorious bandit Tiburcio Vasquez. He used this place as a secret hideout and also where he stored all his loot.
Remember those old black and white cowboy movies you saw as kids? This is where they shot them.
Think this looks familiar? Maybe like a strange planet? You're right. It's the Planet of the Apes. That's right, many movies have been recorded here. Among them, Planet of the Apes from 2001.
This is where they recorded the Flintstone movies.
Ow! This is where they recorded Black and White with Michael Jackson.
That was fast.
That was really fast.
Fast.
Hey, you wanna go again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's ride.